Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to These Go to 11. Once again, I'm Nathan Bell. Joining me, as always, Zach Bartles. Zach, what's going on, man?
Dude, I am just having fun over here, mentally pronouncing the name Pickowicz.
Nice. Nice. That in reference to our special guest, which if you follow us on Facebook or Twitter, we did tweet out. We have Nate Pickowicz joining us. Nate, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. We want to get into our discussion, but as always, we want to throw many shouts out to Missional Wear and all their fine products that they have over there. Zach, what have you been digging on in Missional Wear lately?
Well, what I've been doing with Missional Wear is closing high-level deals.
Nice.
For example, we've got them now selling the Christian Gentleman's Smoking Companion, which me and Ted Cluck put to paper these many years ago. And still the one shirt, but they have lots of great These Go to 11 items. And you know what I found out? I found out that there's a reason behind all this. The reason there's just one gut check shirt and there's many These Go to 11 shirts is because very few people have bought the gut check shirt. And to him who has, more will be given, and to him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And so the listenership to These Go to 11 being, I thought, and I still think, about the same in number to the other, is apparently more prone to put their money where their ears are and buy some stuff from Missional Wear. So that's great.
Dope. Nice. So check out Missional Wear. Check out all the fun products. Check out the Gentleman Smoker's Guide. We had you on talking about that a few years ago. We need to. I think we need to rehash that with your business partner there, Ted, and do that again with both of you on.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Maybe get like Jared C. or somebody on who's Joey Thorne, somebody who lights up once in a while too. That could be fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. So check out Missional Wear. And without further delay, now I think we did, Zach, tease a little bit that we were going to do like an Ant-Man Wasp review and a skyscraper review, which
I didn't get out to see Skyscraper, man. Not yet.
Okay. I did get out to see it. I liked it. It was good. It was really good.
Was it exactly what you thought it would be?
Actually, I actually thought it was a little better than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, that's nice.
So, yeah, I think I enjoyed it a little bit better. And, I mean, I thought it was going to be a typical, Dwayne Johnson movie. So, for that, it was pretty good.
Caveats all over the place.
That's right. But
for a guaranteed turd, it was actually all right.
But this person needs no caveats, Nate Pickowicz. Now, Zach, you actually kind of had me, jump in and arrange this off of a series of tweets you guys had going back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take the lead on this one. So take it away. Yeah,
Nate, I like to pretend. I guess I got two Nathans on the line now. So I'm going to go with Nathan and Nate. I'm going to call Nathan Bell Nathan. I like to pretend that you're my secretary from time to time and just give you tasks, give you administrative tasks. And don't you worry, when Administrative Professional Day comes around, I'm going to take you to a special lunch at TGI Fridays.
Dude, you could get away with taking me to Chick-fil-A, man. I mean,
dude, when I get down to Baltimore, and I'm talking probably about next fall, I'm going to buy you some Chick-fil-A.
Nice.
It's going to happen. All right. Nice. So I saw this tweet from this gentleman whose name I recognized, and I saw it 3 or 4 times in the course of about an hour. And here's a funny thing. Recently, I've had something I did get, hundreds of likes out of nowhere. And it was me screenshotting somebody else's Twitter and putting it on my Facebook. And what I saw was, I think it was our boy Jared, who had grabbed, when I first saw it, grabbed this off Twitter and posted it. And it's an Andy Stanley tweet. It says, millennials are leaving the faith like crazy. Skinny jeans and moving lights won't get them back. But something will. Join me for the Deep and Wide Tour, and we will figure it out together. deepandwidetour.com.
Do you think that's going to be their theme song? The Deep and Wide song?
How's that go?
You've never heard that?
Oh, really?
Deep and wide.
Oh, yeah.
Deep
Felt
and
it.
wide.
Oh, like a Sunday school one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know that one. Yeah, I highly doubt it. That would be kind of money, but I don't think he's got that sense of irony, just based on what I know about I don't know if he's Reverend Stanley or what he is, but and then it was kind of Russian nesting dolled inside a quote tweet by one Nate Pickowicz. And are we saying that right, Nate?
That's right.
Excellent. You know that's like the kind of name with which you cannot fail, right?
I had a ball with that when I was in kindergarten, man. And I've heard every nickname and every joke, and I've heard it all. So,
did anyone ever call you Nate Poppinzitz? That just came to me right now.
That's actually brand new. I've never heard that one before. But thank you for that. That's great.
Anytime I want something like that, I just access the sixth grader that it lives permanently in my brain and out of
that's nice.
Really
Edifying the brethren. That's good, brother. Thank you.
I'm burying the heck out of the lead here because the whole point of all this is that Nate Pickowicz had written, they're showing up at small Bible churches, loving the use, seeking expository preaching because they want to understand the Word of God. And about 17,000 people responded to it, and I'm exaggerating. But he got quite a bit of traction, a lot of retweets, about 100 retweets, and then about 500 likes. And I said to him, we should probably have you on These Go to 11 to talk about that viral tweet and to talk about your latest book. And he said, all coquettish and coyly, is it viral? And so maybe that's the first question before we even get to the meat of the matter. What makes a tweet viral? Where's the cutoff?
I have no idea. I mean, I've been doing Twitter for, I don't know, a couple of years, and I've had a few tweets that have done well. But like when I think about viral, I think about, maybe I'm just thinking explosive. When you see like a tweet of some puppy with a silly look on his face, and it gets 20,000 retweets, like that's, in my mind, that's viral. Like a couple hundred people, that doesn't seem viral, but I don't know how one defines viral. I don't really know. As Todd Friel says, I don't understand the Twitters. I don't get it.
I feel like once it jumps from Twitter and it becomes like an image on Facebook and this kind of it kind of takes on. I got tagged
in a couple of those, yeah.
So it's got legs now. It's actually left Twitter and it's running around the internet. I don't know that something viral, but what do you think, Nathan?
Well, actually, I decided to actually do a little bit of research while you guys were chatting it up.
Ooh. Do you have that capability in your studio?
I do, actually, because I have my cell phone right here with me. So
careful, it's low on battery, man.
It is. I know. I might have to. I might have to use this as backup if my Skype goes out. But apparently, there's like 25 different parameters that count as something going viral, but like one of the main ones is if something has more than 1 million views or tags or hits or something like that.
Yeah, not even close.
But the thing is, it's got to be relative. I mean, Nate, you've probably got not quite twice as many Twitter followers as me. Let me see, where are you standing at? Oh, never mind. You got more than twice as many Twitter followers as me. You're up there near, your next stop is 10,000. So I've got, 1,300 or something. And if I had 500 likes on a tweet, I would go, oh, hey, that's something. Right. If I had 100 likes on a tweet, I would get crazy excited. And, I know that a lot of times the things that go really viral are from, someone with very few followers or not a big platform or not really an authority on anything. But I don't know. It seems to me that when somebody's a single tweet or a post or whatever exceeds the normal amount of interaction in a big way, we've gotten to the point where, I don't know, in my mind, it's sort of like a hack, right? You remember when in order to be a hacker, you had to be like in a room typing madly on like a monochrome screen computer surrounded by empty Jolt cans and empty cartons of Chinese food while the cops are closing in. Now, a hack is like, I used, hair tie to hold the cables together behind my computer. Boom, that's a hack. Like it's a word that's sort of slowly lost its edge. And I think viral marketing is stuff that just kind of happens on its own without paying per impression. And a viral post, maybe I'm part of the problem. I don't know. Making sure.
I think there's something to it. I think, I think you're right that it is relative because, Justin Bieber can tweet out, hey, and get, thousands of retweets and interaction, and because he's got a massive platform and he's just, his persona is viral. But I think in Christian Twitter, everything is just smaller. It's just, it's dialed down, and the stuff that we think is substantial or things that we think are valuable, it's going to be a way different market, if you could use the word, than someone in maybe secular or popular culture. So our Twitter is very different than the world's Twitter, if you could say. So I think what happens with us is a completely different world, and we measure it differently because our biggest, if you could say, celebrity leaders and pastors are dwarfed by the rest of regular Twitter. So it is kind of a microcosm of itself,
I wonder, though, if John Piper were to tweet, hey, right now, how many likes and retweets it would get? 4. Ah, no, man. What does that guy got? Like, there are a few with hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah. He's probably, just thinking about it, he's probably the biggest one that's within sort of accepted conservative. Rick Warren has, a couple million or whatever like that, but he's not engaging with the same crowds that we're engaging with. So, Piper's probably the biggest guy on Twitter right now, but I don't know. There's so many circles, but I think, you do have to look at, the following. For some reason, the folks that follow me, they engage pretty well. I don't know if it's because of the way that I got the followers. I didn't start off with some, tactic to build up a huge number. It's just grown organically over the last 4 or 5 years. And so the people that interact, they interact really well. So I tend to get a lot more traction on tweets than maybe other folks of the same, follower account, maybe just because of the way I interact. It's just different, I suppose. So it's a weird thing. I don't know why I get the traction I do, but every once in a while I'll tweet something and it does better than normal. And 9 times out of 10, I'm like, oh, really? Like that, you're going to like that? Or I'll spend 20 minutes working on something really clever and it gets like 12. And I'm like, that's out to waste. So I never know. It's a mystery of what's going to pick up and what's not.
So
I think the takeaway here is that the people who follow you on Twitter should follow me on Twitter, because that sounds nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow Zach, and what can you promise them? You have to entice people.
Man.
It's got to be like, follow this person for great quotes or insightful whatevers or good article. Like, there's got to be a hook. You got to give them something.
Yeah, that's probably why I have been on Twitter for like 3 years and have 1,300 followers, because I don't put any thought into it. I just once in a while I'll think either something funny and I'll quick bang it out on my phone, or I'll see an article, or I'm a author, and I am in a suspense author group with like Terry Blackstock and Danny Petrie and all these kind of big name authors, and we tweet each other's stuff. So I'm often banging out promos for. It's kind of a grab bag, and I think that's not a good way to curate an online persona, a social media account. That it just kind of strikes as rando, and that's all right. I don't even so much. I was just kidding. I don't even want your Twitter followers, man. Keep them.
But they're great people, man. You got to love the people that support you online. In all seriousness, though, I think there's something to it. Like Twitter. I like Twitter in a different way than I like Facebook, but Twitter is great because you get to engage with people in a very sort of real and visceral way, and you can sort of build a community. Like, I've actually made legitimate friends from Twitter that I wouldn't have made otherwise. There's a couple folks that are, challenging and maybe a little bit strange, but for the most part, everybody who's been engaging has been really genuine. And so I think if you sort of build your engagement around that look, I'm going to be edifying with my tweets. I want to be, engaging. I want to be honest. I want to be biblical as much as possible, not be nasty. It's not going to be like, if you tweet at me, I'm going to, take your head off the next minute. Like, try to create an atmosphere where people actually want to talk to you and don't think that you're just a big jerk, So I think there's such an edge to Twitter that I think believers especially are, they're refreshed by someone who doesn't take a shot at them, and when people take a shot at me, I really I ignore them as much as I can, because I don't have time for that, and I don't think most real people do either. So I think there's a way to engage that I think people gravitate, and I think the tweets get traction because I'm a real person. Like, I'm not, it's not just all promo, and it's not edgy and nasty and visceral. I just try to be authentic as much as I hate that word authentic, by the way, but if I could baptize the word again and say, okay, that's what it is, it's real, so if there's anything to that.
Oh, quick update, guys. I have Twitter open, and your tweet of Andy Stanley's tweet just hit 1 million interactions, so it is viral now.
Yep.
Nice.
I gotta say though, so I heard Frank Turk on the Gut Check podcast probably 2 years ago. It was right before or right after he retired from blogging and eventually left Twitter altogether. But it was a great interview, and I remember him saying specifically, because I remember you were talking to him about Twitter and about the whole microcosm of it, and he said this. He said, Twitter fame is fake fame. Mm-hmm. He said it's not measurable, it's not valuable, you can't do anything with it. He's just, he said, we just create these celebrities out of nowhere, and he said, they don't really have any value. He says, I'm paraphrasing now, but he said, my worth in terms of the kingdom is what I can do in my own church. And he talked about, having an active presence in his church versus an active presence online. So that really stuck with me, so I have the Gut Check podcast is in my DNA somewhere. Because of that, because I've been thinking about his words for the last couple of years, that you have to measure those out. If I'm engaging online, but my life isn't getting traction at home, then I got to reevaluate some things.
Wise words from Turk. I feel like he said that like 4 years ago on the Gut Check podcast, and then Nathan, he said the same thing like a month ago on our podcast. That's why he had to get off Twitter. He was just out of things to say, right? He was just like, oh,
he's consistent.
Yeah, our boy's consistent. Yeah. Okay, well, we're just trying to bust his, chops a little bit. I mean,
but he'll never know because he doesn't come on anymore, right? So he doesn't know.
He knows. He's around. He's in the. Yeah. My boy's in the ether, as they say. But I want to talk about the content. Then, I mean, like we could talk about why that resonated with 500 people or whatever. I mean, and it wasn't just, it was like quick is what made me feel like it was going viral. And then you're right, it did kind of just stop because apparently your people just like dogpile on one thing, go, wow, that was great, and move on.
You're right.
But I think just the notion of it is worth discussing. Sure. It's fun to me that Andy Stanley, who I don't want to besmirch the guy. I really do despise much of his theology. I hate with all the fire of my faith the move beyond the old. What was the term he used recently?
Unhitched.
Unhitched from the old time. That's like burn it at the stake. Not him. Burn it at the stake. Burn. That's a horrible heresy. But right. I'm not saying the guy is in his core, a heretic. I'm saying. Sometimes the apple falls far from the tree, and I think it's kind of amusing in a weird way that he's going to come on with this pronouncement that being hip and positive and having a glossy, flashy presentation isn't going to bring people back. Let's figure out what is. And obviously, you also found that amusing and very succinctly just said, "You want to know? I'll tell you." But subtext, you don't really want to know. Right. Am I right?
Right. So the thing with Andy Stanley, there's a lot of people who've been dogpiling on Andy Stanley, and I think some of it's deserved and some of it's probably not. But I've just been watching. So I got into pastoral ministry, I guess about 6 years ago, and through the whole thing, I've been watching all of these. Every 3 to 6 months, some article will come out or some video thing or something he'll say, and I'm watching this progression, and it's been going on for years, but I've been made aware of it. Where first it's, he's dogging on expository preaching. He's calling it lazy, and that's, you need to know what you're.
Remember that?
Oh, it's awful. But
I forgot all about that.
You need to know what your people are what they need, and expository preaching, that's just lazy because you're not assessing their needs and their in the moment. And So he dogpiles on expository teaching, and a few years later he starts dogpiling on people who are leaving his big, huge mega church and going and finding smaller community churches, and he's saying, look, your kids don't have a youth group at your small community church. And he said, he's speaking to the congregation and to the world at large, stop being so stinking selfish. And he's berating people for leaving the megachurch complex to go and bring their family to a small Bible church. So all of this is in the background. Then he's, unhitching from the Old Testament and unhitching from the Bible and talking about the Bible says is a bunch of garbage, and we have to go with what does Jesus say, which is, it's a logical statement, because without the scriptures, you don't know what Jesus says. Mm-hmm. So it's just all these things over and over and over again, and he's driving the nail in the coffin. And the thing about it is I pastor a really small church in northern New England where Christianity is not assumed. I mean, there's no cultural Christianity. I don't live in the Bible Belt. I mean, this is an unreached people group as far as most people are concerned. So I have a small church, and when you start attacking small churches and people who are going to a small church for Bible teaching, you're attacking the people who God has placed under my charge. And so I don't care if you pick on me as an expositor. I don't care about that at all. But don't go after the people who are trying to do what they believe in their conscience is the right thing. And don't attack expository preaching, because Jesus said it's through the truth is what sanctifies. So the scriptures are what sanctify. Ephesians chapter 5. I mean, you can go on and on and on. So when I see him tweet and sort of lament that people are leaving, he says leaving the faith, I think it really is just leaving his church. When he perceives this mass exodus and say, oh, gee whiz, we got to put our thinking caps back on to figure out what to do to get them back. It's like, I know why we left. My wife and I left the mega church a number of years ago. We went to find a Bible church. And I've talked to dozens of people, dozens and dozens and dozens of people that I know personally who have done the same exact thing. They've left the mega church complex, and I say mega church not meaning large church, but just this branded system. They've left this seeker church because they want to go find a church that's going to minister the word of God to them. So and someone tweeted me and asked me if I have stats on it. I'm like, no, I don't have any stats. Sorry, I can't plug that into your spreadsheet. But I just know people, and I've talked to lots of people, and that's been their story. So I get a little bit zealous because, you can poo-poo these people who are going to leave and go find doctrine and scripture, but then don't lament, don't come and complain to us when they start vacating your church. So that was the whole thing behind it, and I just picked a couple words, threw them together, and just let it fly.
I think it's funny, that from my perspective, a lot of small church pastors, and at this point we've got this disparity, like the growing wage gap here, where there's no church middle class barely. Nathan actually goes to one that's fairly large but not massive, and amazing expository preaching. I've listened to plenty by Greg Dutcher, but there, for the most part, you got churches that are 100 or less, and you got churches that are like 8,000 or more. It's something like that. Right. So from where I'm sitting, I hear a lot of people at small churches saying, like, I feel like everybody is leaving and going to the mega church. So what a weird little glimpse into the eyes of the mega church, ultra mega church leader, to hear him lament, people are leaving and going to these, small churches. And it's funny to me that ultimately there really is it's not as big as they would have us believe, but there is an increase in the number of nuns, in the number of people who've left the faith. Or I've heard them others called the duns, right? Those who were raised in the church and were just like, I don't need this. Right, it's boring and it's hateful. So, why if they're leaving my church, my brand, my mega ministry, but they're still within Christianity, who cares? Right.
And the thing about it is, and again, I want to just make this clear that, some of my heroes of the faith pastor large churches. There's a way, I think, to do large church in a way that still ministers to people and shepherds them. I think you can do it.
Spurgeon did it.
Absolutely. John MacArthur's done it. Mark Dever does it. A lot of pastor, R.C. Sproul, you got it. So, you can do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that when you have people and you sort of keep them hostage and you don't have enough pastors to feed them, and you have them believing that, well, if they're not being fed, it's because they're selfish and it's not about them. And I've blogged about this. I think it's abusive to people who actually do want to grow, and you guilt them and you shame them into staying plugged into a system or a machine that's designed to attract seekers, but it's not designed to shepherd the flock of God. So it really has. It's not a matter of the size; it's a matter of what you're actually doing with God's people. And again, I'm not at North Point, so I don't know what they're doing. But when you stand up on a national or even a worldwide stage, and you actually badger and belittle Christians for making decisions about what they're going to do with their family, I think it's irresponsible. I think it's sinful.
And this is what Chris Roseborough would call a good old-fashioned sheep beating, which is something he used to say frequently when he'd play like a clip of Perry Noble, going off on people for wanting him to visit them in the hospital or to feed them more. And that kind of thing, it really irks me. But what's funny is it's new. I mean, we mentioned a bunch of people who are right in you and I are the same breed of cats pretty much. I mean, right in our little slice of the tiny little thin slice of the pie graph. But I mean, even looking back to when I was growing up, guys like Chuck Swindoll, big church, huge church, well-known household name. I can't even fathom him kind of sectioning off his brand and protecting it.
No.
Rather, he was kingdom driven, and I mean, D. James Kennedy. I mean, you just go on and on with big church pastors with whom I would never, have this kind of a beef. And it's a very, I think it ties back to Twitter. I think it ties back to social media. I think it ties back to tribalism, and branding and promoting ourselves and presenting ourselves in a particular way, where there's almost like, you remember in A Few Good Men, unit, core, God, country,
right?
And you go, whoa, I think God ought to be higher, country too. It's almost like brand, identity, tribe, God, church, something like that.
Right.
And I mean, my church is we've got 127 members or something right now, and some who have been quite active who aren't members, but that's small. I can easily fall into that myself. You're right. It's not a strictly a size thing. It's a point of view.
Right. I mean, I think too, and I'm not saying this is true of all, pastors who sort of have a branded thing, again, because I mean, it's a lot of it has to do with just marketing and how you present yourself and so on and so forth. If you have resources, if you have online streaming and whatever. But I think the spirit of that, the spirit of those who would yell and scream at people and try to beat them into doing a certain thing, I think it really goes back to, it's John 10, it's hirelings who care nothing for the sheep. I think that's the heart of it. Now, I'm not saying every single pastor who takes issue with people in the pulpit is doing that per se, but I think it's the wrong approach. I think you can't, as a pastor, be abusing those who you're trying to lead and shepherd toward the chief shepherd. They don't belong to you, and it's like we think of churches as market share. Like this is my group, and it's like it's not your group at all, So I just think it's a dereliction of duty, and I really have I'm a small time guy. I have no patience for that at all, and I discourage people from getting their theology, certainly, but even reading articles and with videos. It's like, you need to get into some good stuff. Read faithful doctrine, read good material, read the scriptures, understand the scriptures. And I really just have no tolerance at all for that kind of an attitude when it comes to the church.
Yeah, it's very easy to look at, big examples with big platforms where when they say something stupid, lots of people hear it. I have gone back and just deleted tweets that I realized sounded sectarian and me glorifying, and no one's noticed because not as many people not as many eyes are on me. Nathan, I'm curious. We have a logo at my church. We have a little slogan. Mm-hmm. We try to create the brand identity by any other name. What do you guys got going on at Christ Fellowship there? Is there a brand identity? And if so, how do you keep from making that the main thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the identity comes from our I don't know, slogan, mission statement, whatever we call it. I don't even really know what we call it, but our kind of tagline is beholding Christ. And it's always, when our focus is on Christ, then all of the other things will kind of, fall to the wayside. He's our, treasure. He's our focus. He's our purpose. And so, we do some branding stuff with that, but it's not, I don't ever feel like it's really out there. I mean, we have it on our website, and of course we have somebody that takes care of our website and things like that. But I think part of what really helps us, and a lot of people, might disagree with this, and that's fine, is that we don't have a lot of like programs that we're trying to pitch to people. We have our standard childcare when you come to church, and we have youth group, but our focus and purpose in youth group isn't to necessarily go outside and bring all these kids into youth group. One of the things that I noticed in the areas when I teach is I'll talk to kids about where they go to church, and a lot of kids are going to like 10 different youth groups. And, and it's just kind of like, okay. And it's like, oh yeah, well, they're doing this activity on this day, and these people are doing this activity on this day. And, and it's like, so what are you actually learning? And it's like, I don't know how to throw a football. I mean, there's not a whole lot of substance going on when things like that happen, I feel like. And again, I'm speaking from my experience in my area. But our church isn't really going out there and doing that. We have VBS is our one big kind of outside ministry outreach that we do, where, parents will come who, from all over the area. I think, there's a group of parents who just look for, continuous VBS June through August. And it's like, this week you're in this one, this week. Yeah, exactly.
We'll take advantage of that any day. We'll tell them about Jesus. You go to the spa. We don't care.
Right. And that's kind of the approach that we've taken with that is, but VBS is directed intentionally, to teach these children about who Christ is. And I'm not saying youth groups aren't doing that and can't do that, but what I find is, most people, it's about the program. And so I think it's similar with adults too, when they go kind of looking at the brand, it's like, well, what are you offering? That's what branding is. Mm-hmm. It's what are you offering me? And like I said, we have that label, quote unquote, we have that brand, but it's not like we're trying to go out and drum up more business from other churches. We're in our little area, and we're trying to grow our family in this area. And if you come by our church and you stop by, we want to welcome you. But a lot of the conversations we have within the church are family directed. And Greg will make those announcements in church. I'm talking to this church. I'm talking to my family here because, we're in community together. And so they're going to get a lot of the references and things like that. And so, I think it's very intentional not to necessarily exclude people, but to say, this is a family. And so, you're going to find family problems. You're going to find family, laughter and, all the things that go along with being a family. And you're welcome to be a part of that family. But if you're just kind of dropping in and out for whatever reason, it's not really going to work.
Mm.
I've got two thoughts on that, and I want to kick it back to Nate for a response. One is, I think you're dead right about youth groups being kind of the canary in the coal mine of this. Mm-hmm. I speak every summer. I have since 99, one or the other, at a 7th and 8th grade camp, and it gets less and less biblically literate. Whether they're youth group kids or unchurched, they almost know the same amount now, which is very, very little. I said to a group 2 summers ago, who knows what the gospel is? One hand came up, kind of didn't really have an answer. Then another hand came up and someone sort of said it was. And then I said, just out of curiosity, who knows the game Chubby Bunny? 2/3 of the hands went up. Very excited, all of a sudden engaged. Like that's what they're getting in youth group. It was my takeaway.
Right.
And I think that can be extrapolated out in a lot of ways to what we're doing, quote unquote, for people. everything but the gospel. It's like Laodicea was a one-stop shop, man, self-reliant, and that's kind of the goal, I think. And Sardis, every church, what's happening now? Reputation for life, lots of whirring parts and lots of activity, but at the end of the day, what is it about? And the other thing is that your church, I mean, the fact that you've been able to maintain a real biblical, I'm not a huge fan of mission and vision statements and stuff, but vision in general is really, I think, noteworthy, considering that your pastor founded the church and planted the church. And I think, and I have friends who are church planners who will back me up on this. There is a bigger danger for this kind of thing, for feeling like it's all personally, it's me, and I'm on the line. Right. When one has planted it and grown it and bled into it, and so it can certainly be done, where probably every day or every week the church planter / pastor has to say, I give this back to you. I keep on wanting to get my grubby fingers on it. I got to give it back to you. Right. And sometimes, we've all seen the coloring book page where so-and-so gave us the vision and we'll defend it, right? And I don't know. There's a danger in that when I think the church is mine. Right. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, so we planted the church that we're in right now as well. I mean, our church has been there 5.5 years, and so I resonate with that. And there's so much of me that wants this to go well, but I think there's a mortification where this is not mine. I control a little tiny bit of it, which has to do with the preaching and teaching, but in terms of what it is, it belongs to Christ, and it's run by the members of the body. So, I think kind of going back to the whole branding thing, I don't think the issue is with branding, because again, you can have a great ministry that's got great branding, it looks good, it's sharp, it has sort of a, when you log on to Ligonier or Grace to You or any one of those, you're expecting to get a certain quality and a certain thing and a certain temperament, and that's fine. I think it's actually helpful, but I think the issue for me, the thing that gets me the most up on my haunches, which is kind of where the tweet came from, is when you're playing into the consumerism, where it really isn't about the people, it really isn't about the mission of God. It's really just about getting people into your brand. It's about doing whatever you're going to do to perpetuate what you have, and it's not actually shepherding the flock. I mean, I'm all for conferences and promo and books and free stuff and programs, and it's fine. But what is it actually doing? And are you shaming people because they don't want to play along? That's the thing that bothers me, is the shaming of the bride of Christ. That's the stuff that gets me crazy. So, but big church branding, that it doesn't matter. That's fine. It's if anything, I think a lot of small church pastors are envious in a godly way. Oh, that'd be great to have a budget for this, or a look for that, or it's great. But again, I think it does go back to protecting the flock and keeping people, not charging them with sin if they haven't actually committed sin.
Yeah.
So you're saying that maybe the pointing the finger and shaming has to do with an implication that people are being unfaithful to a particular congregation and even industry within the church. Nathan, I think if you want a great kind of clickbait title for this episode, slut shaming the bride of Christ.
Ooh. Oh my word!
No, don't do that. That's not good. Don't do that. I think there's a natural segue from this into your book, and of course, everybody last year all over the place was Protestant, Reformation, 500 years, et cetera, et cetera. We waited. No, we didn't. But we're still talking Reformation. It wasn't a fad for us here at These Go to 11.
That's right.
So it's not that we're late to any parties. We've been at the party, and we're just not going home. We went home, showered, checked our mail, and came right back. And now we want to hear about the book. What prompted you to write it? What can people expect to gain from that, and what sets it apart from the 16,000 other Reformation-based books came out in 2017. My wife works for Baker Publishing, so we get like basically everything for free. And I was like, man, I got to start a new shelf just for these 500-year anniversary books.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I mean, as the 500th anniversary came along, of course, I'm sitting there talking to my wife, and I'm like, man, I want to write something, I want to do something because this is exciting. And I was thinking about, back up. I wanted to bring our church through something, and I didn't want to do like just a straight, history lesson and celebrate just for the sake of celebrating. But what I was noticing is, with all the bevy of Reformation books and Martin Luther books, and there's even been several coming out even the years prior to, I was finding very, very little on the 5 solas. I mean, there's a great 5 solas series that came out from Zondervan, but it's 5 books, and I'm thinking my church isn't going to read 5 whole books just on solas. That's just not going to be something they're going to do right away. So I just wanted to distill the essence of the Reformation in the 5 solas and do it in a way that is packaged for someone who's never actually read any of this before. And there's other books that have done this, but I felt like I had an approach that I really wanted to try. And so I preached through 6 sermons on it and really tried to not as much talk about the heroes of the Reformation. So I wasn't trying to put these guys on pedestals, but I wanted to talk about the doctrine of the Reformation. So we went through all the solas. We went through essentially what is the gospel, because I've got people in our church who are coming out of the Roman Catholic Church, and there's a lot of people in this area who don't know why they're Catholic or Protestant, or it's whatever church is closest, and there's no distinction. And so I really wanted to approach, okay, why are we Protestant? What makes the difference? Why is the gospel the gospel? And so really trying to not just defend the doctrine, but really also point out where it's divergent, where it's different. So I really tried to do a lot of things in a short space of time, or a short space of material, and put the book out last fall, and it did really well. I mean, people really gravitated toward it. There was a lot of people, I think, that didn't have exposure to this at all, and for them it was a really great introduction. And I use a lot of other material, so I mean, there's very, very little that's original to me, for sure. But how to distill this into a way that's manageable for a church who doesn't know much about it. So again, it's an introduction to the 5 solas of the Reformation.
Now, you preached 6 sermons, you wrote 270 pages or whatever. What if I just ask you for the elevator pitch? Why are we Protestant?
So, oh boy, so you're going to make me distill what I've already distilled. Okay, all right. So the underlying question is, how does a person get right with God? That is the overarching major question. That was the touchstone of the Reformation. So what is called the formal principle and the material principle. The main principle was the issue of justification by faith. That's the main principle of the Reformation. Is how is a person justified? How are they made right with God? Is it because they sort of inherit some sort of kind of goodness? Is it because of works? Is it because of merit? Or is the righteousness of Christ imputed to us by faith alone? So that's really the question that has to get answered. And so the solas are built around that primary question. Certainly, Sola Scriptura deals with, okay, what's the material that we're using? What's the formation of how we get our doctrine? But the real question is, well, how does a person go to heaven? How do they get right with God? How are they even saved? And those questions get answered 2 very different ways when you look at the Roman Catholic Catechism and when you look at the doctrine of the Scripture. So that's what I wanted to answer for people who didn't know, was what is the major difference? And then inside of that are lots of different smaller differences, but that's really it right there.
I think the elevator got down to the ground floor and then back up to the penthouse and then back down again and then back up to the 12th floor during the elevator pitch, but well done anyway.
Did you just wait? That was an insult, wasn't it? I'm not very sharp. No. I wasn't ever.
Nathan and I would never have anyone on and then bust their balls the whole time. Listen, I want to ask you though about the book itself. It's gotten really good reviews. I was just like looking through the interwebs last night, and I saw that it was reviewed on the Cripplegate, and I went, oh, I hope they weren't too hard on the guy. And it was like all praise. I thought, man, that doesn't happen very much. And did you do this independently?
I did.
Now, why is it? Just because of the timing, or is there a reason that this to me? I have many podcasts. I have one called Clinch, which talks about indie versus traditional. I've published both with Thomas Nelson and my own little thing. I'm wondering what causes you to kind of gravitate toward the indie side, and how you think you were able to get this out there with such great kind of saturation without the resources of a monolithic publisher behind you.
So my first book was Reviving New England, and I pitched that all over town, and there was no bite. And so I did that one by myself, and that did fairly well. It did okay for a self-published book. And then when I wanted to do this one, I made the decision to do this in like January, and I'm thinking I'm going to pitch this to all around town. And they're going to say, "What's your book about?" And I'm going to say Reformation. They're going to go, "Okay, it's 2017. There's 8,000 other books coming out by people who are better at this than you." So there was just no way I was going to get picked up. And so I just felt like if I was going to do this, and I didn't have any kind of other in. So I mean, it was really the only option for me. So hired out the work, put it out myself, and was able to get it out really, really quickly because there's no hurdles you have to jump through. So it came out for the Reformation, and I don't know. I think it just struck a chord with people. Again, I think social media helps. I think people who follow me on Twitter, especially, they really are faithful. They're really helpful. They share content. They're supportive. They go on. They leave reviews on Amazon. I really think it was an organic thing. I mean, it did really well. So I don't know. But again, I think it's the grace of God just working in the project itself. But I didn't really have a whole lot of options. I mean, I'm pitching a book right now to a major publisher, but I've done 5 titles in 2 years just on my own, and that's just kind of how I've had to do it. So I'm not a big marketable name, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting time to be doing this stuff because you find, and this is what to distill a whole season of a podcast down to a few minutes. You find that you are able to get everything done on your timetable. You're able to get things, if you're willing to put a little into it, you're able to get things looking just as good as they would, reading just as smoothly as they would from a major publisher. And then you find, you've got a 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 kind of hit rate for what actually kind of sticks when you throw it against the wall. And that seems frustrating until you go, that's exactly what they have over at Zondervan or
right.
Kriegel or whoever. Nobody knows how to manufacture this magic fairy dust that makes something really land. And so it's not even a fair question I ask you, what if I say, why did this work? Amidst all those other books, there's just something resonated with the right people who talk to other people, and you snowball. And I like that you acknowledge God's providence in it, because this is a message we believe he wants out there. Every bit as much in 2018 as he did in 15, 17,
right?
That the just will live by faith. That to live a life of, or to repent and do penance is to live a life of penitence and repentance.
That's right.
This is, you'd read some of these really sad and depressing studies, and you find kids and adults in our evangelical churches don't know this stuff.
Right.
Christian Schwartz and all that with the not Christian Schwartz. He's
Christian Smith.
Is that the moralistic therapeutic guy?
Yeah, Christian Smith pioneered that whole thing.
Christian Schwartz did the natural church development, which I guess is the other side of the coin. So
okay.
There's an awful lot of that out there, and we do need to get back to these solas, this Reformation thing. And I think a helpful tool, Nathan, you maybe back me up here, would be either the black T-shirt or that really beautiful, attractive poster that Missional Wear puts out, featuring those 5 solas.
Absolutely, buying more stuff is always the key.
Do we have a like code from them that they put in, like 11 or something, and they get a certain percentage off? I know the Happy Rant has that, and I'm going to be a little annoyed if we don't.
We do it every for special occasions. Like I think we've been
like when we have Nate Pickowicz on.
Hey. I could talk to Jeff and probably arrange something. But yeah, we get it for special occasions when we do stuff. But no, as far as I know, it's not all the time. So we'll have to lay the smackdown on Jeff for that one.
Don't even joke about that. His arms are huge, this guy.
Nice. Oh man.
Guys, I got to get going here in a minute. We're making our former pastor emeritus, and I got a few things I got to do before this meeting. I wonder if you could tell us, Nate, where people can find you, other than following you on Twitter and interacting a whole lot, and where they can find your books and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so everything I've done is on Amazon. You can just look up all the titles. I have an author page. It's right there, so it should be pretty easy to get to. And yeah, hit me up on Twitter and, send me a comment. I love to talk to people, so I'm there just about every day. So absolutely.
Nice. And we'll make sure we link all your information in the show notes as well, your Amazon works and all that stuff. So
appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Guys, this has been a great conversation. I enjoyed listening to every minute of it.
Are you grousing a little bit? You could have jumped in whenever you wanted.
I'm just messing with you. No, it was great, and I honestly did enjoy just kind of sitting back for once and just listening to the interaction back and forth. It really was great. If you go back and
now you know how I felt when you and Dutcher were like, and then remember the other thing that happened before Zach was around, and then the other thing, and the guy he doesn't know.
Oh, man. Dudes. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off now. Gentlemen, we just rocked the Casbah.
Please go to 11.